Travis Kelce sat on the edge of his living room couch, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the hardwood floor. His girlfriend, Taylor Swift, stood a few feet away, her hands nervously wringing the edges of her sweater. There was a silence hanging between them, heavy and unspoken, but Travis could feel the weight of it. Something was wrong. "Trav, we need to talk," Taylor said softly, her voice trembling. He furrowed his brow, confusion creasing his face. "What's going on, Tay? You're scaring me." Double-angle quotation mark. She hesitated, biting her lip, as if weighing whether to continue. Finally, she let out a deep breath and looked him in the eyes. "There's something I haven't told you, about us." Double-angle quotation mark. Travis's heart pounded in his chest, a mixture of fear and concern creeping up his spine. His mind raced through possibilities. Had she been unhappy? Was there something wrong with their relationship that he hadn't seen? Taylor began to speak, her words tumbling out in a rush. "I've been keeping this from you because I didn't know how to tell you. But you need to know before things go any further between us." Double-angle quotation mark. Travis sat up straighter, his eyes searching her face for some clue. "What are you talking about?" Double-angle quotation mark. She took a deep breath, blinking away the tears that were threatening to spill over. "I met you long before we ever got together." Double-angle quotation mark. Travis stared at her, bewildered. "What? What do you mean? We met at that charity event last year. You came up to me." She shook her head, cutting him off. "No. Before that. Years before. I wrote a song about you. Before I even knew you." Double-angle quotation mark. Travis's face drained of color. His mind scrambled to process her words. "A song? About me? How is that even possible?" Double-angle quotation mark. Taylor swallowed hard, taking a step closer to him. "I didn't realize it at the time. But when I first saw you on TV, years ago during one of your games, something about you just stuck with me. I couldn't shake the feeling. So I wrote a song. It was one of those songs that I never released, one that I kept just for myself. But then, when we met, everything clicked. You were the guy I wrote about, Travis." Double-angle quotation mark. His eyes welled up with tears, confusion swirling in his mind. "Why wouldn't you tell me this sooner? Why now?" Double-angle quotation mark. Her voice broke as she replied, "Because I didn't know how to explain it without sounding crazy. And I didn't want you to think our relationship was some predestined thing. I fell for you, the real you, not the guy I imagined all those years ago. But now that we're so serious, I couldn't keep it a secret anymore." Double-angle quotation mark. Travis's hands covered his face as the tears finally fell. He felt overwhelmed, vulnerable in a way he hadn't experienced before. The idea that she had written about him, unknowingly, all those years ago felt surreal, like they were characters in one of her songs. It was both beautiful and terrifying. "I don't know what to say," he choked out, his voice raw with emotion. Taylor rushed to his side, wrapping her arms around him. "You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. I love you, Travis. I always have, in some strange way, even before I knew you." Double-angle quotation mark. He buried his face in her shoulder, letting the emotions pour out. The revelation was shocking, but beneath the tears and confusion, there was something else, a deep connection that went beyond explanation, something that had always been there between them, even before they knew it. As he pulled back and looked into her eyes, Travis whispered, "I love you too, Tay. No matter what." Double-angle quotation mark. And in that moment, everything felt like it had fallen into place, as if their love had been written long before they had even met. It was a crisp autumn evening, and the air around Travis Kelce's Kansas City home was filled with the faint scent of rain. The glow from the fireplace flickered across the room as Travis sat on the plush couch, sipping wine and smiling at Taylor Swift, who sat across from him. They had shared countless intimate moments like this since they began dating, a relationship that had captivated the world. Tonight, however, there was something different about Taylor. She seemed distant, her usual sparkling eyes clouded with a heavy thought. Travis noticed but didn't press. He was a man used to reading the field, and tonight, he could tell something was off. "Trav," Taylor began, her voice soft but tinged with apprehension. She set her glass down, her hands trembling ever so slightly. "There's something I need to tell you." Double-angle quotation mark. Travis straightened up, his broad frame tense, concern flashing in his eyes. He had been through enough in life to know when a conversation was about to shift dramatically, but nothing could have prepared him for what was coming. Taylor took a deep breath. "Before we got together, I found out something about you." Double-angle quotation mark. He furrowed his brow, confusion mixing with anxiety. "What do you mean?" Found out what? Double angle quotation mark. Taylor hesitated, her gaze dropping to her hands. I knew about you before we met. Before we even crossed paths. Not just from the media or football. I was told something about you that made me want to meet you. And, it wasn't by accident. Double angle quotation mark. Travis blinked, his heart beginning to pound. Wait, what are you talking about? What did you know about me? Double angle quotation mark. Taylor's eyes finally met his, brimming with emotion. It's not easy to say, but I owe it to you to be honest. I was approached by someone you know. Someone from your past. They told me things that, I don't even know if they're true. Double angle quotation mark. Travis leaned forward, his chest tightening. Who approached you, Tay? Double angle quotation mark. She swallowed hard, her voice barely a whisper. Your ex. She said things about you. About how you cheated on her. How you broke her heart. How she never recovered. Double angle quotation mark. The words hit Travis like a freight train. His body stiffened, and for a moment, he felt like the air had been knocked out of him. Memories from a long-buried past began to resurface, memories he had thought were far behind him. His eyes stung with a sudden onset of emotion, but he shook his head. I didn't cheat on her, Taylor, he said, his voice cracking. It was complicated. We had our issues, but I never. He paused, struggling to find the words, tears now welling up in his eyes. I never betrayed her like that. Double angle quotation mark. Taylor's face softened, but the pain remained. She told me you did. That's why I kept my distance for so long. I didn't know who to believe. But then I met you. And I realized you're not the person she made you out to be. Double angle quotation mark. Travis sat there, tears rolling down his cheeks, unable to speak for a moment. He had never imagined his past could come back to haunt him like this, through Taylor, no less. His heart ached, not just from the accusations, but from the idea that Taylor had been carrying this weight with her for so long. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Travis asked, his voice hoarse. Why didn't you ask me? Double angle quotation mark. Taylor shook her head, tears now streaming down her own face. I was scared. I was afraid that maybe it was true, and that I'd lose you if it was. But after all this time, I had to let it go. I had to trust you. And I do. Double angle quotation mark. Travis wiped at his eyes, trying to compose himself. I'm not perfect, Tay. I've made mistakes. But I swear to you, that's not who I am. Not anymore. Double angle quotation mark. Taylor crossed the room and sat beside him, wrapping her arms around him as they both wept softly. The weight of the revelation, the fear of losing one another, hung in the air between them, but so did the overwhelming sense of love that had brought them together in the first place. I believe you, Taylor whispered, pressing her forehead against his. I believe in us. Double angle quotation mark. And in that moment, amidst the tears and the raw emotion, Travis felt a surge of hope. The past could no longer hold them hostage. What mattered was what lay ahead, together. Travis Kelce sat at the edge of the couch in his Kansas City home, nervously running his hands through his hair. Taylor Swift was pacing the floor in front of him, her arms crossed tightly, her face flushed with a mix of emotion he couldn't quite decipher. They had shared countless moments of laughter and love, but this was different. I can't believe I'm doing this, Taylor began, her voice trembling as she stopped pacing. Travis's heart pounded. He had no idea what was coming, but he sensed that his world was about to shift. Taylor sat down beside him, her hands shaking slightly. She took a deep breath before looking into his eyes, her usual bright, confident gaze clouded with uncertainty. Travis, I need to tell you something, she said, her voice low. I've been keeping a secret, a huge secret, and it's not something I can keep from you anymore. Double angle quotation mark. He blinked, his brow furrowing. What are you talking about, Tay? You can tell me anything. Double angle quotation mark. She exhaled shakily and finally spoke, each word cutting through the air like a knife. This entire time, the media, the fans, they think we're perfect, that our relationship is everything people dream of. But Travis, I've been keeping things from you. Things that could change everything. Double angle quotation mark. His breath caught in his throat. What things? Double angle quotation mark. Her eyes filled with tears. Travis, I haven't been honest about why I reached out to you in the first place. It wasn't because of the sweet gesture with the friendship bracelet. It wasn't because I felt that instant connection everyone talks about. She wiped a tear from her cheek, her hands trembling. I was asked to. Double angle quotation mark. Travis stared at her, completely frozen. Asked to? By who? Double angle quotation mark. The NFL. They wanted to orchestrate our relationship, to boost viewership, to create this perfect storyline of the league's star player and the world's biggest pop star falling in love. It was never supposed to be real. Her voice cracked. But it became real for me, Travis. Somewhere along the line, I started to really care about you. I tried to tell myself that it didn't matter how it started, but the guilt has been eating me alive. Double angle quotation mark. Travis stood up abruptly, taking a few steps away from her. His chest heaved with emotion, and he turned to face her, his eyes welling up with tears. You're telling me, everything between us started as a business move? As some marketing stunt? His voice was thick with disbelief. Taylor nodded, her face twisted in agony. At first, yes. But it changed. Travis, I swear it changed. Double angle quotation mark. He clenched his fists, trying to process the revelation. His heart felt like it was breaking in half. Everything they built, the late-night conversations, the laughter, the moments that felt so real, was it all just a facade? I can't believe this, Taylor. I trusted you. His voice cracked, and he sat down again, burying his face in his hands. Tears fell freely, his body shaking from the weight of betrayal. Taylor moved to sit beside him, but she stopped short, unsure if she even had the right to comfort him anymore. I never meant for it to go this far, Travis. I've fallen for you, I truly have. But I couldn't keep living a lie, not with you. Double angle quotation mark. Travis looked up, his eyes red and glistening. How am I supposed to believe that? How am I supposed to trust anything after this? Double angle quotation mark. She reached out tentatively, her hand hovering over his, but she withdrew, unsure if she deserved his forgiveness. I'm so sorry, Travis. I know I've hurt you, and I don't expect you to forgive me right now. But I need you to know, the love I have for you, that's real. Double angle quotation mark. Travis stood, pacing the room in an attempt to calm himself. His mind was racing, torn between anger, sadness, and the love he still felt for her. He wiped his face, turning to her one last time. I don't know what to say, he whispered. I don't even know how to feel. I love you, Taylor, but how can I move